Hi there, welcome to my latest edition of my 10-minute rant. Sorry, 10-minute moan. Now, this one is about some absolutely bonkers suggestions that the SNP have come up with to give us reasons why we should vote independence. It's part of a 10-paper sales pitch that they're going to produce. This is, the 10th paper they've produced on independence and how we should do it and why we should do it. And this particular one is based around things like arts, TV, sports, etc., and giving us justification and why we should, in fact, vote for independence. Absolutely bonkers. Last night I done one just purely on the Eurovision, right? Because I just could not believe that was put down as a reason why we should get independence, because a benefit would be Scotland would have its own entrant into Eurovision. This is politicians we're talking about here, right? Trying to sell the nation an idea that we should buy into independence, and Eurovision is one of those key benefits that we would get from being independent. They're good. Anyway, I digress. This story's been picked up by a lot of papers. I'm using the Daily Mails just because it was an easier read and they broke it down well. I'll put a link to that in the description just to give them credit. So I'll just go through, as I normally do, the story. I'll not go through it all because there's some just nonsense in there, but the key parts of their story and give my feedback and opinions on such. So the headline is SNP launches 10th paper on Scottish independence. Sorry, a bit over keen with the mouse there. SNP launches 10th paper on Scottish independence on Groundhog Day, as reports claim breakaway effort would lead to free-to-air sporting events and Eurovision entries. Yes, you heard that right. Okay. Now, the Scottish National Party have released their 10th paper on independence on Groundhog Day. The report, which was published today, this was yesterday, outlined plans for free-to-air sporting events, Eurovision entries, and a bid to rejoin the European Union. Ooh. Right, the plans were launched as part of a Building a New Scotland series and promised impartial news and distinctive programming, as well as the country's creative industries being determined by the Scottish public. Yeah, so obviously the Scottish public don't determine our creative industries at the moment, which sounds a bit weird. Anyway, the announcement fell on Groundhog Day, the North American tradition made famous by Bill Murray in his 1993 film where the main character lives the same day, again and again. Sounds like SNP Day. And, excuse me, there was a sense of deja vu this year with yet more plans for a breakaway effort. Scroll down past the pictures because they're a bit off-putting. Revealing the 55-page paper, Culture Secretary Angus Robertson, in brackets it should say twat, said a new public service broadcaster would expand on existing TV and radio offerings by showing national sporting fixtures, including Scottish men and women's football qualifier matches for World Cup and European Championships. Ministers anticipate a licence fee funding model would likely remain the best option and that the programming would be specially tailored to Scottish audience. Free-to-air football has been a big issue in recent months, with this summer's European Championships looming. Current rights are held by subscription service Viaplay, but STV and BBC have secured the rights to broadcast certain games for Scotland's group stage matches this summer. Currently, all England matches are shown free-to-air on Channel 4, with the rights package moving to ITV from 2024 to 28. I need to scroll down past more pictures. Mr. Robertson has been urging current broadcasters to obtain rights from UEFA for Scotland games. Right, this is the first bit I need to stop, because these people obviously have no concept of how this works. What that man's saying, in fact, what that man's party is saying is, if we get independence, we'll let Scottish people see the Scottish football qualifiers for the World Cup and the Euros free on free-to-air channels. Now, let me just explain how this one works. For example, the UEFA qualifiers that he was moaning about in Westminster, that it wasn't fair that the English could watch on free to air, but the Scottish had to pay Viaplay to watch the Scottish qualifiers. The way this process works is very, very simple. It's not that difficult to grasp. UEFA own the rights. UEFA sell the rights for every country's qualification campaign. You can imagine countries that have got far more people than us, like England, Spain, those types of countries, who have quite good football teams. Their rights to show these games live would be more expensive than ours. However, if nobody that has got a free-to-air channel like ITV, I think Channel 4, Channel 5 have possibly shown Scottish games in the past, if they don't want to pay as much as either UEFA want or someone else is willing to pay, then you do not get those games. And that is why the Scottish, the Welsh and the Northern Ireland games are currently on Viaplay. They paid UEFA to put them on their channels and they charge people to view them. It is quite a simple model. So how anybody from the SNP can tell you that if we get independence, we're going to have a Scottish broadcasting service to be the national broadcaster. And what they're saying there is, and we'll have the Scotland games free. Well, how can you possibly say that when you do not know, A, how much UEFA will want for those games and if you could afford it, and also, even more important than that, how much everybody else is willing to pay for them. Because if somebody wants to pay more than you, they get them. Okay? It's simple. It's not a difficult process. But more bollocks in there, this document than that, to be honest with you. The plans written by First Minister Humza Yousaf's civil servants also reveals aims to rejoin the EU, we've heard this before, and become members of multilateral conventions such as UNESCO, and further attempts to enhance Scotland's voice on the world stage. The paper outlines a desire to start taking part in Eurovision Song Contest. Now, I'm not going to laugh, right? I failed miserably. I tried to do a 10-minute video on this Eurovision thing itself last night. I'll put a link in the descriptions if you want to see it, right? I couldn't cope, right? I just could not cope with the nonsense I was reading and all these mad things going on through my head about how bonkers these people have got to be to actually put that and print that and tell us that that's a benefit of being independent. We can have our own folk at Eurovision. Seriously, hold on and I'll change a lifetime of voting habits and suddenly, can we have a referendum please so we can get our own team in the Eurovision? See if anybody voted, right, in a referendum, either way, right, not just for yes, if they'd voted yes or no, based on potential entrant from Scotland being in Eurovision, or not, as the case may be, if you wanted to vote against that, you're barking mad, right? And these people, it sort of gives you an idea of who they're trying to talk to, right? People that are bonkers. Because you need to go, I really want independence now because I quite fancy Scotland having Eurovision entrance. Honestly, is that what we're at? But this is a bit that really worries me more than that. And Alex Salmond, I put out a video of him, a couple of interviews he'd done over the last week or so, and I put some sections on. And he said quite a good thing. He says it's time for the adults to have a wee shot now. Now, what you've got to remember here is, when we had a referendum in 2014, the Scottish public voted 55% to remain in the UK and 45% to be independent. So if you want to get independence, you've got to swing that 6%. So that one becomes 49 and that one becomes 51, right? So to do that, you've got to give them some pretty good ideas. Now, if you seriously think there's a single Scottish person out there that will change their vote because of this nonsense, you've got to be bonkers. And if you did change your mind because of nonsense like this, then that person voting's bonkers as well. And you are welcome each other. You can have a wee mad party of bonkerness, with a party you want to vote for, and the people, actually that's what we've got, isn't it? That's exactly what we've got just now. A mad party with mad voters. Because if you dissect the nonsense that they came out with, apply any common sense and logic, you couldn't vote for these people. You certainly couldn't vote for independence based on what they say. Now, I'm not finished yet. A further attempt to enhance Scotland's voice in the world stage, the paper outlines a desire to start taking part in the Eurovision Song Contest. I can't say that again, right? I couldn't cope. I couldn't finish another video talking about that. But there's bits like this. Here's a cracker for you. Our culture and creative sectors, such as music, video games and screen sector, are key part of Scotland's economy, not just in their own right, but also as a driver of other sectors such as tourism and hospitality. Our creative industries already make an important contribution to our economy, but as an independent country, Scotland's rich and diverse culture would help our economy to thrive. Now, I'm really, really sorry, but this is the sort of shite I'm struggling with, because if we've got a great creative industry, which to a certain extent I think we have, what difference does being independent make? Do we suddenly have more creative people? Why would that happen? And you can imagine these idiots sitting in a room going, right, we need to write our 10th paper on independence. We need some buzzwords. So what we'll have is, we're talking about creative, mention culture. Yeah, get culture in there. And diverse. Aye. We've got a diverse culture. So stick that in about being diverse. Better get that word in. It's just buzzword bingo. That's what it is. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, you actually think, well, hold on a minute, what are you actually saying here? But you don't give us any reasoning behind that. You just say, it's just an opinion, that if we were independent, our creative culture and music, video games and screen set will be better. Based on what? If our passport and a driving licence says Scotland instead of the United Kingdom, how does that suddenly make our culture and creative sectors suddenly better than they are today? You're actually paying a disservice to the people in the culture and creative sectors right now. If you believe by changing the stamp that would go on the letters, they would suddenly become important parts of our economic boom, right? So it's bonkers. And a cracker as well, but also a driver for other sectors such as tourism and hospitality. This will be the tourists that you're wanting to tax. Remember? We spoke about it just a couple of weeks ago. You want to start taxing the tourist tax. That'll help. So we'll get all these people. See, suddenly become independent tomorrow. See by Monday. Right, all these people in that sector are going to be better for some reason. They're just going to be better, right? And that's going to give us a boom in tourism. But to put the tourists off, we'll tax them more. It just goes nuts. And here's another cracker. Independence means that broadcasting decisions that impact Scottish audiences and our creative industries would be determined by Scottish public through the Scottish Parliament. For example, decisions about what large-scale sporting events should be made available to broadcast free on air, which you actually don't get to decide that. The people who own the rights to televise these events own that, right? That's how it works. A new public service broadcaster would prioritise content and services that are more representative of diverse audiences in Scotland. Let me just dissect that for you. What they're saying there is, the broadcasting that we get now isn't suitable for Scottish people, because, it's like British, isn't it? Right? No Scottish, it's British. So we're going to make it more diverse, and we're not going to bother too much about what they do. What they're actually saying is, see, unionists, we're not putting stuff in the telly for you. We're going to make it more diverse than it is now. And I'm not suggesting the British, or even the current Scottish media, TV, etc., is guiding towards unionism, right? But these crackpots say that. So if they're saying right now it's all unionist stuff that you are getting and it's bad for your head, we're going to make it better. We're going to make it more representative of the diverse audiences in Scotland. Yep. Bonkers. So I'm almost getting to the point, right, that if I didn't have such a vested interest in it, I would love Scotland to get independence. If I didn't care about Scotland, I would love Scotland to be independent. Because what a, excuse my language, clusterfuck that would be, right? We cannot govern with the powers we have. and they want to give us more. And he keeps saying, and independence and Scotland becoming a full member state within the EU is the only way for artists and creatives to regain the vast benefits of EU membership, including freedom of movement. Is that right? Do you know, I'll tell you how, I'll call bollocks on that, right? And I can give you quite a personal one. There was somebody talking to me recently that does some stuff to this, right? They make stuff for, is it creators you call it, right? Spain, right, has just, I think last year, made this new law that they give you a visa. And there's only three things, I beg your pardon, that you need to tick in the form to be guaranteed this visa. It's not a kiddie on thing, it's not where you go in a queue, it's guaranteed, come tomorrow, right? It's a digital passport, so you need to work digitally. So somebody like that, somebody that just done investments and work, could do it for a laptop. People that make content for YouTube, Facebook, all that sort of stuff, all these influencers and all that. So you've got to do that. That you don't work like you could sit in a balcony in Spain and do it, but without working physically in Spain. That's basically how they do it. If you make more than £2,000 per month currently, based on the minimum wage in Spain, so you know if it goes up, that'll go up. But you've got to be a non-EU citizen. So anybody that's in some of these things, especially like computer games, you could sit and work on that in a balcony in Spain, right? Scottish. So you get a UK passport, so you're non-European, and you make more than £2,000 a month. Bye! You can go and work in Spain. Visa. Can you do that if you're in the EU? And it's a set rate of 15% tax. That sounds pretty good. I quite like that. Right, if I wasn't so tied to certain other things locally to here, I'd maybe give that a consideration, right? But it doesn't suit me just now where my life is right now, but who's to say that couldn't change 5 years from now? So see this stuff, and they always say, freedom of movement. There's one, and that's only because I know about it, because I was talking about it, because of what I'm doing now, you know, this stuff for YouTube. So there'll be others. Now, if we went back into the EU, that digital passport option finished, and these options are in several countries around the world. So you'd lose them by joining the EU. So it's bollocks, right? Total and utter bollocks. But I digress. There you go. I think we've covered it enough. They're bonkers. They're absolutely mental. And as I say, I'm getting to the point where I wish I could just say, do you know what? Bugger off, go and do it. Go and get your wee independent Scotland. Let's play at making up Scottish broadcasting and all that stuff and see what happens within 2 to 5 years. Right? You'll not get your pension. You'll not be in the EU, right? Because it's impossible. They've already told us that. You're not getting in, right? So the dream just dies and all these people go, oh, but it'd be Westminster's fault, wouldn't it? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, thumbs up, subscribe and notify. Get a wee blather in the comments. That's how he was good laughing on a Saturday night. But most importantly of all, have a great day. Bye now.